Hi, everyone. On today's episode of the Bryan G Real Estate Podcast, we're going to be talking about receiving multiple offers, more specifically, as a seller and listing agent receiving multiple offers. Now, in a previous episode, I spoke from a buyer's perspective called Preparing and Presenting Offers, which was about buyers putting together with the right features competitive offers would be attractive to sellers. Okay, that's a different episode for buyers. This episode is focused on sellers and listing agents. Okay, so the scenario is this: we got your home listed, got it up on the market, say it's in the first weekend, right? You have a really beautiful, attractive property in a really desirable area. So now the listing has gone up. The marketing has been awesome. We priced the home right, which is the most important place to start. Okay. But, we priced it right. The marketing's going. Everything's great. We got a bunch of showings and it's the first weekend. And so now some offers are starting to come in. Okay. So now we have multiple offers. Okay. That's where we're starting from here. Okay. And before I continue, I just want to make very clear that there is no way that in one episode of this podcast, I'm going to be able to cover every single possible scenario when it comes to multiple offers. Okay. There are literally, 1,000 ways that offers are prepared, presented, evaluated, right? And I just don't, that could take a week. Okay. But what my goal is today is we are going to break down the multiple offer process. What is it we're looking for in the broad strokes? Again, every home, every property is unique, every scenario is unique, every buyer is unique, and every agent, right? So I just want to make that very, very clear, just in case if you're looking for something specific and I don't happen to cover it, we can't cover everything in one podcast. Okay. But again, my goal on this is to give you a general overview on what it is that we are looking at, what we are evaluating, and what to expect from your agent in this process, what to expect from the buyer's agent when they're presenting, and also what to expect from yourself, the seller, in working with your listing agent to be able to properly assess, evaluate, and select the best offer out of the multiple offers received that will benefit you the most. Okay. And another blanket statement that I want to start off with too is that the highest offer is not always the best offer. Let me repeat that. The highest offer is not always the best offer. Come on, Bryan, we want to make money, right? This is why we're selling a house. We need to get the most we can to, get the most out of our investment in our home. And that's very, very true. But here's one really quick scenario, and I think everybody kind of goes along with this. If we have a home listed for 300 and we looked at the comps and that's what we feel like, market values between, 3, maybe 315. So let's say we listed 315, okay? And so that's what we feel the comps are really showing us. And now if an offer comes in, and they come in at 385 with no appraisal guarantee and it's regular financing, which means it needs to appraise, well, that's probably not a good idea to accept. And I'm kind of exaggerating here, but these kind of things do happen, right? If we feel that a financed offer is way over what we feel appraised value is going to be, that is not your best offer if they have no appraisal kind of guarantee with it. The highest offer is the best offer if there are features and benefits built into it that will guarantee that high price. Does that make sense? So, what are some of the things that we're looking for when receiving offers? Again, our house is up, offers are coming in. Okay. Now, one thing that I look at as an agent right away is how is the offer presented? Okay. How is the offer presented? And here's something that I see that that you guys don't see. Okay, because what I'm doing is when an offer comes into me, through email, right? It has the e-signing and things like that, and the documents that come with it, right? What I'm doing is I'm organizing that for you. I'm doing a summary. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so when that offer comes in from that other agent, right? Let's say they had a showing 3 hours ago. They call me up. Hey, Bryan, I'm sending you an offer. And I'm like, hey, great. Do you have anything in hand? We're like, yes, we already have one in hand. So, it is competitive. So, bring a good, clean, solid offer, right? And they're like, okay. So Then you got to give them a little bit of time to get that offer together, right? Because they got to put it together, literally put the offer together, send it to their people for e-signing, and get it back to us, right? So we can see it. So we give them a little grace, right? Give them a little bit of time so that they can complete all that work. Okay. But when the offer comes in, here's what I'm looking at, right? One thing that I am looking for very closely is how professionally the offer is presented to me. This is really important because this says a lot about the professionalism, or in some cases, lack of professionalism from the agent on the other end. See, when we're looking at an offer, we're not just looking at the sale price, we're also looking at its reliability, at its viability, right? Our ability to get to close. That that is really, I mean, from step one, that is something that we're really focusing on. It's easy to get offers in on the home. It's not easy to get to the closing table or get to the closing table on acceptable terms. So when offers start coming in, right away, I'm looking at that initial email from that agent and I'm looking at it. It's like, how are they presenting it? Right. And so a couple things to look at, as an agent sending an offer through a document signing link, which requires the listing agent, right, to have to go into that link, go into that system, get those documents, and sometimes they're separate documents, and then you have to download each one onto my laptop, right, put them into a folder, right. You know what I mean? Like, so right away, when an agent just sends like a quick link, and I can tell that there was very little effort in sending that over to me, because they're sending it over to a bunch of, loose, separate PDFs, right? There's no offer summary, there's nothing like that. That already starts to tell me that this agent is disorganized and, borderline unprofessional, okay, in how they present. Because let's face it, folks, there's a lot at stake when we buy and sell a home, right? It's either 200,000, 300, 400,000, 400,000, half a million, $1 million, right? There's a lot at stake here. And and with that much on the line, right? And those kinds of consequences can be huge if we make a wrong selection, right? There's a lot at stake here. So when an agent sends me an email and there's all these loose PDFs, I got to go into a link, I got to download stuff myself, you know what I mean? That to me is telling me that this agent is unorganized, and right off the bat, I'm not feeling very good about their professionalism, right? Because that speaks volumes when it comes to who is representing that buyer. Okay. And the other part of it too is not only sending that like unorganized to me, right? But also I it makes me question, like, okay, if they're disorganized in sending an offer, which is like the goal of every agent to do, right? Is to, submit and subject and some submit and select offers, right? Then that kind of makes me wonder, like, okay, how well do they qualify the buyer, right? If they're disorganized presenting an offer, do they really qualify the buyer, right? And what I mean by qualify, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is not just pre-approval qualify, but I mean really understand what is it the buyer's looking for, and is this truly the right home for them. A good agent will really, and we'll talk about this more in another episode, will really qualify and ask, okay, what is exactly the kind of property you're looking for, right? Give me with exact details and specificity, what is it that you really want, so I can find that for you. When I have an agent who sends in an offer all haphazard like this, it does make me question, like, well, if they're sending in a sloppy offer, have they even qualified the buyer, right? Like, is that, do they truly know their buyer's motivation or their buyer's timeline, right? Their ability to purchase, right? Because an agent that will do that is professional and detailed. And if they send this to me in such a way that it's sloppy with lack of detail, that really raises a lot of red flags for me. Like I said, price is not the only consideration. It's getting to the closing table, which is an equal consideration. We want a great price, but we want to close, right? And when someone comes in all sloppy like this, there's a lot of things that I start to question in my mind. And now I start really looking at under a microscope to really look for, hopefully don't find them, but anything that's going to fall apart on us, right? Now, another thing that I do too, if I see well, I do call every agent when an offer comes in, right? I acknowledge that I have it, right? And kind of let them know, is it competitive or not, right? If an offer comes in, hey, Susie Smith, thank you for sending your offer in. I really appreciate that. By the way, we have another offer on the table, but I just want to let you know that I'm confirming that I received your email, I received your offer, right? And so at that point, if an offer comes in, it's a bit sloppy, I'll start asking a couple of questions just in conversation, like, yeah, so all right, so yeah, so what's your buyer situation? Okay, yeah, how qualified are they? What is their timeline? Right? I'll ask some questions like that just to help reassure me if kind of a questionable offer comes in. Okay. And good agents will do this, right? I'm not the only one to do this. Any professional agent will, if there's anything called into question or suspicious to us, we will definitely, well, we will qualify that buyer's agent, right, in that offer. And we will ask some questions to learn more so we can make, or so we can gather information to help you, the seller, make an informed choice, right? So once we have the documents that come in, okay, everything I just said here, right now, one of like the second thing that I look at right away is um, is is the buyer qualified to purchase the home? Now, this is where we're literally looking at either a pre-qualification letter or the pre-approval letter. Okay, that's if there's financing. Okay. Now, if it's a cash transaction, there is no pre-approval letter because there's no banks involved, like there's no appraisal process or underwriting. Okay, so with cash, we're looking for a proof of funds, and what that is that's a bank statement, whether it's savings or an investment, wherever that money is held by the buyer. And this is a good thing. Certain information like account numbers and anything real private, social security numbers, those are redacted, right? Hopefully the agent hopefully the agent has sent me that with the information redacted. If not, I remove it myself in case it's overlooked, right? But that proof of funds for cash is, we just want to know, hey, okay, we're selling a home for 450,000 and I can see that there's 675,000 in the savings account. All right, they have the proof of funds that they can purchase, right? Now we're confident that they do have that money. Now, going back to financing though, there is a difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval. Pre-qualification means less to us, okay? Because a pre-qual is, and I'm just broad strokes here and slightly exaggerating, but basically, if I'm a buyer wanting to buy a house and I just need a quick approval, I can call ABC Lender and be like, hey, so my name is Brian. This is my job. Here's how much I make. Maybe send them a pay stub or something, or give them some quick information, and then you'll get a pre-qualification pretty fast. Like you can get that in a couple of hours. Hey, you pre-qualify for X amount of dollars to make a purchase, right? Now, a pre-approval letter is what we want to see when there's financing, okay? Because a pre-approval means that someone has been working with a lender long enough that they have actually started to do things like verify their taxes, verify their employment, not just at the word of that buyer, right? But I mean, truly with the employer, verified their employment, right? They've, looked at different things like that. And so a pre-approval letter, and I'm not a lender, right? I'm going to do a show on lending coming up soon. But the pre-approval, let's just say, is way more comprehensive than a pre-qualification letter. Okay, so when I'm an agent, like I said, kind of going back to the top, how is it presented? Is it loose? Is it sloppy? Is it a pre-qualification instead of a pre-approval letter? Right? So if I have a sloppy offer with a pre-qual, I'm kind of like, eh. And if I have another offer that comes in that has offer summary in the body of the email, everything's in one clean PDF, put in order for me from the agent, presented well, professionally. And if they have a pre-approval letter within that PDF right on top where we can see it, because that's the first thing we're going to look for, right? Now, can you kind of see right off the bat, right? Sloppy, pre-qual, and we have professional with pre-approval. Right off the bat, we are definitely feeling better about offer B, right? Because it's just stronger with the pre-approval. So before we get into talking about what features to look for in multiple offers, okay, before we go there, I do want to just bring up something that you will see a lot. This comes up quite frequently when buyers are looking for homes. Okay. And that is the call for highest and best. Okay. Or best and final. You'll hear these two phrases out there a lot. So if you have, so for the seller, and we have a really popular property here, right? Like I said, we go live on, coming soon on Wednesday. We go live on Friday. We got a bunch of showings. Offers are coming in on Friday and Saturday. So when we have more than two offers, it looks like we're looking at three or four. Some agents will call for highest and best or best and final. Okay. And what that would be is something similar where a notification goes out onto the listing and also through our showing time app to let the agents know that, hey, we've received multiple offers on this property. Please bring your highest and best by Monday at 9 a.m. Okay. Now, there's a couple different ways to look at the highest and best. There is the old saying that your first offer is usually the best that you get in. And I gotta say, there is some truth to that. And in my experience, think about it when a listing goes live and an agent and a buyer are motivated, they get in there quickly, they're very decisive and say, "This is the home, this is the one we want. Here's our offer," boom, and send it to you. That is a really good indication of a motivated, qualified buyer. It also looks good for the agent because they understood the urgency of it and getting their people in there and coming in strong, right? So there is something to your first offer being the best one to work with. Now, of course, there's exceptions to everything. And your first offer is not always the best because sometimes you get people who lowball, right? They have cash and they're going to lowball, right? That happens too. But if it comes in reasonably strong, that's definitely something to think about and to look at, right? For the reasons I just stated. Now, it's my responsibility as an agent, as the seller's fiduciary, okay? My responsibility is to do what's best for my seller at all times. And of course, a huge part of that is to generate as much profit or proceeds for my client, right? That's what I am charged with. I am representing the seller, and it's my job to do everything I can to not only give them the best professional experience, but also to help them make the most money and to benefit the most from the proceeds. Okay. So, that in mind, although we generally like our first offers and they come in, if we're getting multiple offers coming in, one thing that we don't want to do is immediately take the first offer that comes in without knowing if something better might come to follow. Okay, now this sounds really obvious, but here's why. With just a quick side note, with for sale by owners, this is where for sale by owners go wrong, in my opinion. Okay, or one of the ways they do is that you're for sale by owner, you got it up there like, hey, we got a nice offer coming, great, let's take it. Boom, they take it, right? And it could work out and everything's fine, right? FSBO for sale by owner. FSBOs happen all the time, right? However, could they have gotten more if they didn't just simply take the first offer that came on their plate? Could they have gotten more? And the answer is 90% of the time, yes, you can get more if you just don't accept that first offer because it came to you, right? That's a NAR statistic that's been tracked for the last 25 years. Okay. It is a fact that when you have an agent and you place it to open competition, right, and you have a huge marketing machine behind it to drive drive buyers to the home and to generate that interest, right, that you will sell for more. But that's a whole other episode. Okay. But I'm saying that because I'm coming back to here is, yes, you might even have like one decent offer, or maybe it's an okay offer, like, all right, but we want a great offer, right? So, and if it's Friday and we have a couple offers in and they're okay, right? But it's the first day that we're out there and we have 15 showings scheduled for Saturday and we have 10 showings scheduled for Sunday. Well, then there's a very high probability, okay, we can't say with certainty, but there's a very high probability that we're going to get more offers from those other showings. And the best thing for the seller is to allow those showings and to see if any other competing offers could come in that would be more beneficial to them. See what I mean? So what we will do in those highly competitive situations with multiple offers is I will say, okay, it's Friday, it's the first day, we got 2 offers in hand, we have 20, 30 showings already scheduled over the weekend. So what we're going to do is we're just going to call highest and best or best and final for Monday morning at 9 a.m. Now, this does a couple of things. One, um, one, it will upset the people who put their offers in first because they came in quick, and now it's going to be open up and giving more people time to compete with them, right? That is disappointing, and believe me, that is true because I've been the first offer in before. I won't lie. It's like, hey, we came in good. But if there is that much traffic on it, I also understand as an agent, right, that with that much activity, that calling for a highest and best does make sense at that time, even if it's something that I didn't want to happen at that time with my buyer, right? And what the highest and best deadline does is that it gives everyone a fair shot to see the home. Okay. It allows those 10 showings on Friday, those 10 showings on Saturday, those 10 showings on Sunday, right? By calling that deadline on Monday, it gives everyone the whole weekend to get in there on Friday to see the home. Maybe they want a second showing on Saturday just to make sure it's the right one for them, right? So it allows everyone enough time to get into the home, to take a look at the home, to not feel too rushed or to make a really hasty decision, right? Because they know that they have, if it's Friday, they have those 2.5 days until Monday to finally submit their highest and best offer. Okay. And this is good for a couple reasons. One, agents with buyers are like, okay, we can, we can relax. We don't need to change our time and like move it up to Friday because Saturday was really best for my client, right? Like no one's rushing around or trying to fill out an offer in the laptop in the front seat of their car, like while they're parked, right? You know what I mean? I mean, so doing that highest and best does allow agents, buyers, and the sellers, we can start to, kind of mentally prepare for, okay, we're going to have a multiple offer situation. It basically lets everyone relax for the weekend, get in there, see the home. Everybody has a fair shot to do it. Okay. And then it's also telling people like, look, we want your highest and best, right? You may not get a counter offer. If there's 10 offers come in, we're not going to counter offer every single one. Monday, pick the highest and best, and we're picking the best offer on Monday at 9. Boom. So that lets everybody know this is what the expectation is. Okay. So for a lot of good that the highest and best can do, there is also a drawback to the highest and best. Okay. And I have seen this. This happens a lot. So, what a drawback can be on highest and best is, let's say you're the first buyer coming in with your agent, right? Coming in on that Friday when it went live, right? And it's like, okay, we know this is the home, we like it, we wrote a nice strong offer, boom, we put it in there. Oh, great. Now you're going to open it up for another 2 days and not make a decision until Monday. Great. So now that allows everyone else to present possibly a higher offer or a stronger offer to compete with that. Now, that offer on Friday does have a chance to, resubmit if they want to strengthen their offer at all. Everyone, like I said, everyone has a fair shot to edit, to amend their offers, to bring in truly what their highest and best is. Now, if you're a buyer who's under a tight timeline and you put that offer in on Friday because you wanted to get that locked down because you're relocating from another city or something like that, right? Or some kind of domino effect with what you're selling and buying, right? And, you need a decision right away. And if that gets bumped back until Monday, sellers, you could lose a buyer from that. It has happened. It's like, hey, we brought you guys a great offer on Friday. Now you're doing highest and best. Guess what? We're in a hurry. We're out. Boom. And they leave. That can happen. That does happen. Now, chances are you'll probably get 3 or 4 other offers that come in, but it's a little disconcerting to lose a good bird in the hand. Okay, like we need to be very confident, okay, that something better than that first offer could come in because you could lose that first one. That makes sense? The other thing too is goes live on Friday. Highest and best is on Monday, and receive a call on Saturday morning. Hey, we just showed your house. We see that you guys are highest and best. And I've had agents tell me before, like, look, if we come in like at around this number, right? Like, do we even have a chance? Like, is this wasting everyone's time? Because I have multiple buyers with multiple competitive situations, and if we're not even close, like, we don't even want to submit an offer, right? Because I mean, obviously, you guys are going to go way over asking. You're going to whatever, right? Now, that's a conversation that I have with that buyer's agent when they call me in that scenario. And I will tell you this, I never discourage anyone from submitting an offer. Okay. Even if it is highest and best, even if it is really competitive, because you never know what they're going to bring you. And this is what I tell the other agent, like, yes, we're calling for highest and best. Yes, it's competitive. I can't guarantee that you're going to get it, obviously, right? Because we're going to evaluate on Monday. But please submit an offer. It's always worth your time. We will always sincerely consider any offer that comes in for my client. Okay. And professional agents will sincerely consider all offers that come in. I never discourage anyone from not writing an offer on one of my listings. Bring it. Please bring it, because you never know what circumstances could change and you guys could win the offer, right? So, so with the highest and best, there are some practical, convenient, good components to it. But like I said, there could also be some backlash where an agent may not even bring an offer to you because they're afraid of it being so competitive, or that first offer just may not have the time to wait another 2.5 days before getting an answer on their offer. So it's a give and take. And this is a conversation that myself, the listing agent, and you, the seller, this is where our communication needs to be completely honest with each other. And one, when I reach out to you guys and it's like, hey, we got to talk about this, respond. Okay. Don't make me wait for 5 hours because the stuff is important, right? So it's like, hey, this has come up. We got a new scenario. Please contact me. Contact me right away, right? And we need to speak freely. So I depending on how this offer was presented, depending on how qualified this buyer appears to be, depending on the different features that are built into the offer, right? That's when I'll begin to, to counsel you on the merits or the strengths and weaknesses of the offer, and if this is something we should accept now, or if this is something that we should wait and call a highest and best at the beginning of the week. Does that make sense? So communication between agents, me the agent, and you the seller is extremely important. And we need to be completely honest with each other. And believe me, I will be honest with you. Okay. My expectation of you on this is that when we come into this scenario and things are happening fast, I need you to be quick. I need you to be responsive, right? And we need to communicate in a very timely manner. Now, your expectation of me is being able to interpret what the offers are and to make a recommendation on which one is going to benefit you the most, right? So my expectation of you is communication. Your expectation of me is interpretation of the offers and making the right recommendation on which one you should accept. You're listening to the Bryan G Real Estate Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about me, check out my YouTube channel, Bryan Gutierrez Keller Williams Real Estate, or go to my Facebook page, Bryan Gutierrez Keller Williams. And if you want to hear more of this podcast, please subscribe. Now back to the show. And that leads me to my next point, which is, and again, this gets down to how professional and how organized an agent is. And I'm just going to hold this up real quick. But what I have here, for those who are watching on video, and what I'll describe to you, just listening, is that I have a multiple offer spreadsheet. Okay. And any good agent is going to have this. Okay. Any professional agent is going to have this. If we have a really popular property and we have, multiple offers, we're getting 3, 4, 5, 10 offers. I've had up to 29 offers on a house once. Okay. We need to be organized, and I need to be organized in presenting this to you. So I have a multiple offer form. It's a spreadsheet that's very easy to read. It's not a very hard to read Excel sheet. It's something that is definitely easy to read, easy to interpret, right? And so what I do is, as these offers come in, I start filling out each column. Each column is offer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going across left to right, okay, on the top. And then coming down on the left from top to bottom, here are some of the categories that I have. So my spreadsheet, I'm describing it for you people who are just listening, is offer, 1 through 5. Okay, going across the top from left to right. On the top to bottom on the left, I have all the different categories in there, such as email date and time received. Okay, agent, what company they're with or which broker they're with. I have sale price. Is there an escalation clause? Are they contingent? Is there money towards closing costs? Financing type, down payment percentage or amount, pre-approval, EMD amount, earnest money deposit amount, occupancy, security deposit, home inspection, appraisal gap guarantee, concessions, home warranty, exclusions, closing date, offer expiration date, and other conditions. Because like I said, each situation is definitely unique. Okay, so let's just kind of go into these a little bit. So I just rattled off that really long, quick list of possibilities that come in an offer. But when it's in a spreadsheet, I just fill that out as we go along. Date and time received, you know, Johnny Smith from ABC Realty Company, here's the sale price, no escalation clause, it's not contingent on anything, no money towards closing, it's conventional financing with 10% down. Yes, they have a pre-approval. Their earnest money is, $5,000. How much occupancy are they offering, right? So I have a column for each one of these. So that's the point I'm making, basically, before I keep rambling on. But, I have this very organized for you. Any good agent will do this for you. Okay. It's hard to believe I'm not the only great agent out there. Just kidding. But anyway, yeah. So I have this spreadsheet and it'll just be column 1, 2, 3, 4. You go right down the list and they're right next to each other. And it's very easy for you and I, seller, to go through this list. What I like to do is I like to fill this out with our multiple offers. I do like to meet with you in person when we go over this. And of course, I'll print you copies of this. I'll bring all the copies of all the offers so that we have all the purchase agreements to look at. And of course, I've analyzed every single offer on this, right? I go through every single purchase agreement. I, make sure that all the disclosures are signed, that their agency agreements are in place, that they've signed our purchase agreement, right? I make sure that each one of these, and believe me, this takes some time. When you get 5 offers in, you're looking at about 4 hours of work just evaluating and summarizing each offer. Okay. And a good agent's going to take their time to go through each one. In Michigan, we don't have a universal purchase agreement. So Keller Williams, Real Estate One, Remax, EXP, whoever, they all have their own purchase agreements. So I literally have to read all 35, 36 paragraphs of each purchase agreement that comes in, even if it is 5 or 10 offers. So this is your agent working hard for you. Okay. Yeah, this is where I just brew a cup of coffee and get out the reader glasses, right? Like, okay, here we go. Let's read a whole bunch of fine print. It's not the most fun read, but hey, but that's my job, right? And if I'm doing my job, I'm doing that for you, and I'm gladly doing this for you, okay? But just to kind of give you an idea of what it is that I'm doing as I'm preparing this for you, okay? And so once we have what all these different features are, then we can start to evaluate, who or not who, but who submitted the best offer, I guess, right? So one thing we are looking at is the sale price. We are going to start there, right? One, we want to make sure one's pre-approved, not pre-qual, right? Or if there's any cash, okay? So we're going to look at that real quick. And then we are going to start looking at the prices. So, okay. So we're listed at 300 and we think we could maybe get 315 or what the comps are saying. So, okay, offer number 1 came in at, 320. Okay, good offer. All right. We're listed at 300, but, they came in at 320. Okay. And, okay, they're not contingent on another house. That's great. Conventional financing. Okay, they're putting 15% down. Okay, that's decent. Pre-approved. All right. Their earnest money deposit amount. I say this, I go into this more in the other episode, preparing and presenting offers. But for earnest money deposit, we generally like to see a minimum of 1%. Okay. We like to see more than that because earnest money deposit has a few different functions. One of them is to compensate the seller if the buyer walks away for a non-justifiable reason. Okay. So we like to see a nice large earnest money deposit. Like I said, a minimum of 1%. We'd like to see, about 2% would be great. So on a $300,000 house, if someone came in with like $5,000 or $6,000 earnest money, that's a really good amount. That's a good solid amount. More than that, fantastic, because that's the money the buyer would have to leave behind if they just walk away from your deal. See what I mean? And I'm really just kind of generalizing this here. There's a whole bunch of other conditions that go along with that. But that's basically what it is. So we want to see an earnest money deposit amount enough that it's not easy for the buyer to walk away from the transaction. That's, for the case of our discussion today, that's really what we're looking for. So we look for that. Are they offering us, like, let's say in the listing, we needed 2 weeks of occupancy after closing to help us move? Are they charging us for that occupancy? Are they giving us free occupancy for that? See, that's a cash benefit there, right? Or a net benefit there. So with standard occupancy, after closing, if the buyer is charging rent for that, what the title company does is they take the buyer's new mortgage payment and divide it by 30, and it gives a per diem or per day amount. Okay, so standard occupancy we'll give you 2 weeks at 1/30th PITI, right? Which is principal, interest, right? Things like that. So that's basically your, per day or per diem rate. Okay. Now, what we like to see is, hey, we'll give you 2 weeks occupancy, but we're not going to charge you for that. Now that's great, right? Because that saves the seller, depending on the price of the house, right? That can save the seller $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, right? So that's a net benefit. So like, oh, free occupancy. Okay. Now, offer number 2 next to it is charging for occupancy. Okay. That's a net decrease. See what I mean? This is where we start comparing things side by side. So offer 1 had $10,000 earnest money. Offer 2 has $5,000 earnest money. Okay. Not the end of the world, but offer 1 is giving us free occupancy for 2 weeks. Offer 2, not only with a lower EMD, but now they're going to charge us for occupancy. So, okay, a little bit weaker, not bad, still not bad, but not as strong as offer 1. See what I mean? And then we go up to the sale price. All right, so offer 1 and 2 gave us 2 equal sale prices. Okay, that happens a lot. Okay, they both came in at the same 320. Okay, so the price is the same, but we're going to benefit on that. And offer 1 is pre-approval, offer 2 is a pre-qualification. Red flag. That means they're not as qualified as offer 1. Now we're seeing the scale begin to tip to offer 1 a lot. Does that make sense? And then we're looking at, okay, are the buyers asking for a home warranty? Are they asking for any concessions from the seller towards their closing costs, right? Which could also would decrease the net benefit to the seller if the buyer is asking for concessions, which is money towards their closing costs, right? See what I mean? So what we do is we go through all these scenarios and we just line them up side by side on the spreadsheet. I fill in each of the spaces on the columns and we just look at them, just literally side by side. Price, right? Is it contingent or not? Any money towards seller's closing costs, financing type, down payment, pre-approval, EMD, occupancy, right? Like what I read before. We're just going to go right down the line and we're going to like check, and we're going to see who overall really has the stronger offer and has like a depth of offer. Another thing that I'm looking at too is the offer just really clean, right? Sometimes agents can try and throw so much into an offer that it gets kind of messy and you don't really understand what their point is, right? There's 20 options that we can throw into an offer. We're never throwing all 20 options into an offer, okay? Because that would just be like madness and confusion, and a lot of that would contradict just from a practical standpoint, right? So once again, getting back to comparing your offer 1 and 2. All right, so they both came in over asking price. We're listed at 3. They came in at 320. Okay. Offer number 1, his offering a $10,000 appraisal gap guarantee. Okay. Offer 2 is offering a $5,000 appraisal gap guarantee. So what does that mean? And I cover this in the other preparing and presenting offers. Is an appraisal gap guarantee very quickly is this. If the sale price from an offer is $320 and a home appraises for $310, All right. Now there's a gap between, right, the sale price and the appraisal price of $10,000. Just in real general terms, a couple things need to happen here. Either the buyer brings more money to the table or the seller can lower the sale price, but they need to kind of bridge that gap, right? Or some kind of agreement in the middle. Okay. That's a real easy breakdown on that. So when I look at offer number one and there's a higher appraisal gap guarantee saying that they're bringing 10, if we're at 320 and appraises at 310, that means that buyer one's going to automatically bring that $10,000 to make up that appraisal gap. So does that make sense? So if I have a higher appraisal gap guarantee with an offer price above our list price, and offer number two is only bringing $5,000 in appraisal gap guarantee, it doesn't mean that it's bad on offer two, but it's just not as good as offer number one. See what I mean? These are the things that we're going to be looking at. Also, closing date. Based upon you, the seller's timeline. Again, I need to negotiate everything that's best for you. If you need a faster closing time because that works better for your schedule and your timeline, then I'm going to look at what do they propose for the closing date, right? Is someone putting 6 weeks out on the closing date, or is someone putting 4 weeks out, or maybe 3.5? Well, depending on your situation, seller, right? You may either want the longer time or maybe you want the shorter time, right? Once again, I can't cover every single scenario on this. There's a million things that go into this, right? But the point I'm making is that, being organized and putting everything in order that's easy to read, easy to evaluate, okay, makes this decision process much easier for you. And when you interview agents, ask them what is the process for when you receive multiple offers. He's like, what's your process for multiple offer, agent, right? And they should be giving you an answer like this. Now, as a side note too, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. In real estate, we can get designations if we seek out education and coursework. I have gone out of my way to get my CMOE, which is my Certified Multiple Offer Expert designation. So I have had a lot of training on how to evaluate and present multiple offers to you, the seller. Okay, this is a designation that not everyone has. Okay, that coupled with just my 10 years of experience, put those two things together, and I will tell you with confidence, I'm very good in a multiple offer situation. So when you're interviewing agents, ask them, do you have a designation for multiple offers, right? What is your experience in dealing with multiple offer situations? What is your process, agent, when you receive multiple offers, right? These are the questions to ask, because I'm telling you, if this is not evaluated properly, you could be leaving thousands of dollars on the table by mistake, right? No one intentionally does that, but it's that one oversight or those two oversights that can really begin to add up for you, the client. And once again, it's my charge as an agent to be professional enough to do what is best for you and to help you benefit the most from the sale of your home. And any professional agent will be able to explain this to you with specificity. Okay, not anecdotes. We want examples. Give me an example of ... right? So please, when you're interviewing agents, these are important questions to ask, because this could be the difference between thousands of dollars in your net proceeds. So anyway, so as we're doing this, and we're looking at these different offers, we will discuss the different merits of what each offer has. We'll compare them side by side in a very organized, professional way. What I like to do is I go through all 10, and then I will pick the top 3, and then I'll kind of highlight those before we meet. And then when we meet, or if we have to do it over the phone, I'll email you the PDF of all of this, right? So you can look at it, while we're talking, if we can't meet in person, right? And be like, okay, so we received 10 offers. I really like offer 1, 4, and 7. These other offers, we can take a look at it, but we can already just write those out because the sale price wasn't right. Maybe there were pre-qualifications, right? There's just a bunch of things we didn't like about them. So here we go. Offer 1, 4, and 7. These are the ones that really caught my eye. Let's take a look at those 3 more closely, and let's really deep dive into those one at a time, and let's see which one's going to work best for you guys, right? And then we'll talk about that. We'll have a conversation while we're doing it, and then we'll decide, like, okay, all right, so we think offer 4 is off but we like 1 and 7. Let's look at those again. We'll take a look at it one more time, put them side by side, and be like, okay, you know what? Offer number 7 came in strong, clean. We like those terms. They presented professionally. Everything seems to be in place, right? All the ducks are in a row. Their paperwork came in nice and clean, right? Very clear language, very clear expectations, right? Those are the things that we're looking for with this. And so, another thing that I'm looking at too, just so you know, is that over the last decade, I've built up a network of working with other agents, right? Because I do decent volume, right? And I will tell you, so now if it comes down to offer 1 and 7 here in our final choice, and I know that offer number 7, that's a professional agent. I've worked with them before. I know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. They're going to be responsible, right? They're not just some kind of headset jockey like trying to close the deal, babe, right? Talk at you, babe, right? If it's not that kind of agent, I'm like, okay, so these offers are really close, but I really know this agent, and this agent is professional. We worked together before. I have a really good feeling about working with this agent, right? If things are right on that cusp and they're extremely equal, that would tip the scale for me in my recommendation to you, right? Or if I know that offer number 1 was a complete jerk before, I'm like, we got to watch out for this guy. This guy tried to pull the rug out from me a year ago, right? So I'll shifty and whatever. And yeah, this looks good, but compared to this other offer, we may want to go this way because this agent's way more professional and is not going to jerk us around like the other one did on me a year ago, right? See, now that's where, having another experienced agent really, really is important. So that's another question that a seller should ask in a multiple offer situation, not just those questions before, but hey, do you happen to know either one of these agents? What do you know about them or know about their office? And that's really, really good to know. Okay. Because that can really tip the scale too. Because a lot of times in these highly competitive situations, we get offers that they can be identical. Like it's happened. I had one before where I had there was a competitive situation, and it was the neighboring city to us, and so I had the buyer. It was competitive. They had highest and best, right? We came in and we wrote an offer, and we did give our highest and best. The agent called me and said, "Hey, can you do anything more for your offer before I call it?" And I said, "You know what? This is our max. This truly is our highest and best. We got to run with this." They're like, "Okay, great." And I knew who that agent was. I had met her before. And so we did not get it. Another offer came in slightly higher, and they took the higher price. And 3 weeks later, we don't know why, but that deal fell through and it came back on the market. Now, another thing that a good agent will do is, if God forbid, knock on wood, doesn't happen, right? Very often, very rarely, but when a deal crashes, she did the right thing and right away started calling people who had submitted offers before and said, "Hey, this is falling through. Just want to let you guys know. We know you guys are very, very interested. Are you still interested in it?" And she called me before it even hit the MLS. I didn't even have a chance to see it yet, right? And so I told her like, "Oh yeah, heck yeah, we are definitely interested in this. My people love this house. Our offer still stands. Like, keep it good, right? Like, if you take that offer, we'll sign it today." And then she had thought about it for a minute. She said, "You know what, Brian, I'm just going to tell you now that we are going to accept your offer." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." I'm like, "Awesome," right? I was so happy for my buyer, right? But the reason she told me was this. She said, "Brian, we literally had 3 offers and you guys are all identical. You're pre-approved. You all had $10,000 appraisal gap guarantees. You all came in at the same price. You all had good lenders, right? Lender reputation was strong on each one. Your EMDs were exactly the same, right?" I mean, she said, "We had 3 identical offers." She said, "But I'm going to tell you now that I'm going to go with your offer, and here's why." I'm with Keller Williams, right? And we had our office, like I said, in our town. And she's also with a different office, but Keller Williams. And it wasn't because of the KW thing, but what it was is that her people on this side of town, because her office is on the other side of town, needed to close in her office. And so she arranged that, because we can arrange that, right? If I'm on the west side, if I'm closing someone on the east side, I can close in an east side colorway, right? So that's what she was doing. So she had set that up, and this was about a year prior to this. And so she had a closing, and I just happened to be in the office just working, right? So she, they're in the closing room and stuff. And so she came out to come to the copier or something like that. And she just had some questions for me, like, hey, can you help me like find this, or what's this about, whatever. And we just had a really pleasant conversation and kind of started talking about the market. Hey, how's the business going? Great. Very encouraging. Hey, here's what you need from the office, this and that. And she said, I just remember that conversation from a year ago where you're very helpful. You're very professional. I really like what you had to say about the market and how you see the market. And so she said this first offer was higher, but it fell through. And you're one of 3 identical offers that I'm calling back. And she said, I'm not calling the other 2 back, because now that you're telling me that your people will take it, I'd rather work with you, because I know that A, we not only get along, but B, we established a relationship professionally. And she knew that working with my buyers, the transaction was going to go well, and everything was going to happen on time, and we'd communicate well, and everything would be handled professionally. And I'm telling you, that actually got my buyer that house. And that is extremely important. So sellers, when you're interviewing agents, okay, hopefully you're interviewing me, ask these questions. Again, ask for examples, not anecdotes. Bryan, in this situation, what have you done? Boom. Whether it's multiple offers, whether it's open houses, whatever it is, sellers ask really good questions. I love when people ask really great, detailed questions when they're qualifying me to see if I'm going to be worthy of listing their home. I love that, because that shows me that you, the seller, have put a lot of time into this. And I'll tell you this, I never underestimate any seller, okay? In this day and age where anyone can get as much information as you want, I never underestimate someone who calls me to say, hey, can you come over and talk about listing my house? I'm interviewing agents. I assume that you, the seller, have done just as many hours of research that I have. I will never underestimate a potential client, right? And I think that is just something that is so very important. So just so you know, a good agent, myself, when we set an appointment to see if, interviewing for the job of listing your home, a good agent will come prepared. They'll have their numbers. They'll have answers to tough questions. Okay. We will be prepared. And that is something, if you bring an agent into your house to interview them to list your home, and if they're not prepared, done. Go to agent number 2, because this is so important. For most of us, the largest asset that we own is our home, right? And for a lot of us, the largest investment that we have is our home. The stakes are high. You need to have a professional representing you, and a professional to be able to, not only help market and present your home to the open market so that you get these multiple offers, but someone who is able to interpret these multiple offers, and more importantly, put it into context and explain it to you so that you can make the best informed decision possible. I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.